In the remote taiga of Zabaykalsky Krai, about 100 kilometers from Chita, a group of loggers was working deep in the forest. Suddenly, the air was shattered by a powerful explosion, the echo of which reverberated across the trees. The workers froze, scanning the sky in confusion. One of them looked up, and what he saw struck him with terror. Debris from a massive aircraft was tumbling down from the sky. The tail section spun separately as it plunged toward the earth. Among the wreckage falling through the air were human bodies. Within moments, everything went silent again, leaving only faint trails of smoke in the sky, quickly dissipating. A forest ranger who happened to be nearby also witnessed the terrifying event. He saw a blinding flash of light in the sky, followed by falling fragments of the aircraft's structure. That day, a major aviation tragedy unfolded in the skies over the Zabaykalsky Taiga, one of the worst in Soviet history. In May 1973, an Aeroflot Tu-104 airliner was operating a domestic route from Moscow through Chelyabinsk, Novosibirsk, and Irkutsk to its final destination in Chita. After routine stops in Chelyabinsk and Novosibirsk, a new crew took over. Captain Nikolai Abadiansky, a co-pilot, navigator, flight engineer, and radio operator. Also on board was a plainclothes police officer, Vladimir Yojikov, assigned to accompany the flight on short notice after a colleague failed to report for duty. On the morning of May 18th, the aircraft departed from Irkutsk and climbed to an altitude of 9,000 meters. In addition to the 5 crew members, there were 72 passengers on board. 20 minutes into the flight, the aircraft entered the Chita Regional Air Traffic Control Zone. The captain reported reaching the waypoint for descent. The controller cleared the plane to descend to 4,000 meters. 15 minutes later, an emergency signal was received from the plane's radio system. The captain then made brief contact, reporting that a passenger had issued an ultimatum demanding a change of course and was now attempting to break into the cockpit. The crew halted their descent and leveled off at 6,500 meters. 2 minutes later, a second distress signal, this time a coded transmission, was received. Attempts to re-establish communication failed. Air traffic controllers saw the aircraft's radar echo abruptly vanish, replaced by a cloud of static. A Mi-8 search helicopter was dispatched and soon located the cockpit section on the slope of a nearby hill. The bodies of the crew were found inside. Wreckage and human remains were scattered across a 7-kilometer radius. Experts concluded that survival was unlikely for anyone on board. The Soviet Prosecutor General's office launched an official investigation. Eyewitnesses, including the loggers, gave consistent accounts of debris and bodies falling from the sky. Early suspicions pointed to a powerful onboard explosion. Forensics confirmed this theory after analyzing the wreckage. A special commission determined that a homemade explosive device had detonated near the right emergency exit in the first-class cabin. The aircraft broke into 4 major sections: nose, tail, mid-wing, and lower fuselage. During the autopsy of the victims, forensic experts noted one body with missing hands, 2 gunshot wounds, severe trauma to the upper torso, and absence of internal organs. Strong indicators that this was the person who had detonated the bomb. A Makarov pistol recovered from the accompanying officer's belongings was missing 2 rounds. The special team painstakingly reconstructed the bomber's face using nylon thread and facial fragments. Comparing it with passenger documents and photographs, they identified him as Chingiz Rizayev. The match was later confirmed. A search of Rizayev's apartment yielded bomb schematics and components. Investigators learned he had military experience in an engineering and demolition unit. He had tried and failed to enroll at MGIMO, the prestigious Moscow Diplomatic University. Lacking foreign language skills and barely fluent in Russian, he was rejected multiple times. The rejections devastated him, yet he remained determined to become a diplomat. If not in the USSR, then abroad. Zayev fixated on China as his destination, reasoning that strained Soviet-Chinese relations made extradition unlikely. Inspired by the 1970 hijacking of an An-24 to Turkey by a Lithuanian father and son, Zayev planned his own escape. Unknown to him, however, Soviet authorities had since implemented a policy of placing armed plainclothes officers on domestic flights to prevent hijackings. Investigators believe Zayev stole explosives from a road construction depot where he had recently been employed. He then traveled to Irkutsk, booked a ticket to Chita, and boarded the ill-fated flight. Mid-flight, Zayev showed a bomb to a flight engineer and demanded a course change toward China. The crew, following procedure, locked the cockpit door. Enraged, Zayev tried to force his way in. At that moment, Officer Yozhikov fired twice, hitting him, but not before Zayev managed to activate the explosive device. Despite the objections of grieving families, the remains of victims were cremated under tight police supervision. Zinc coffins were manufactured by the Chita engineering plant, sealed, and sent to the Moscow crematorium. Armed guards stood watch at morgues to prevent unauthorized access. Families later received urns with ashes. Years later, many relatives of the victims blamed the officer for escalating the situation. However, in 1973, the court ruled that he had acted according to protocol and in good faith. In retrospect, some believe more time could have been bought, but the circumstances left little room for alternatives. The tragedy led to a revision of Soviet aviation security. Plainclothes officers were deemed too risky, and a new passenger screening protocol was introduced at all Soviet airports, ushering in modern security checks for both people and luggage. To this day, some travelers who venture deep into the Zabaykalsky taiga claim to find scattered fragments of that doomed Tu-104, a solemn reminder of the catastrophe that shook the sky. In 1973,